Plugins can give ChatGPT the ability to make PowerPoints, write and illustrate entire storybooks, create charts and diagrams or Spotify playlists, and so much more. I'm the Prince of Prompting, and in this beginner's guide to plugins, I'll go over what plugins are, how to find them and install them, and then I'll give you some powerful examples with plugins so you really understand how to use them. Plugins are downloadable add-ons that plug into ChatGPT to give GPT more robust functionality. It's kind of like adding apps to an iPhone, where each new app gives your phone a new ability or feature. Now, plugins are currently only available for ChatGPT Plus users. So let's get right into it. You can enable plugins by going down to the bottom left of the ChatGPT browser and clicking these three little dots. Then click Settings and Beta, go to Beta Features, and you'll see right here a list of the beta features that you could turn on. I want to turn on plugins, so I click this button here. And that's it, you've enabled plugins. But how do you find the plugins you want to use? After enabling plugins, you'll see this new region on the website right up here, where it will say no plugins enabled by default. Now again, you have to be in GPT-4 to get this. GPT 3.5 does not have it. So to find plugins to use, I'm going to click this drop down and it will take me to the plugin store. The plugin store is pretty simple. It has a popular section, a new section, all plugins, and a search feature. So as you can see, there's already 121 pages of plugins available. And given that there's 8 on each page, that means there's already 968 possible plugins to choose from, with more being added every day. Now, once you've found the plugin you want to use, enabling it is very simple. All you have to do is click the install button. The first example plugin I'm going to show you is this Smart Slides one, which gives ChatGPT the ability to create PowerPoint presentations from your simple text prompts. So let's install it. So you see, after clicking install, it brought up this page where I have to put in my email address to get a code to use Smart Slides. This is going to be slightly different with each plugin you use, although it's pretty standard that the first time you use each plugin, you're going to have to sign up in some way. So I'm just going to sign in with Google, and then we'll authorize it. Now this brings me back to GPT, and we're all ready to go. So now that you have a plugin installed, you're going to see this little section right up here, where instead of just saying no plugins available like it did before, it will have a list of all the different plugins you have installed. And just because you have the plugins installed doesn't mean you have to use them at all times. You can toggle them on and off by just simply clicking them. There are two ways to use the plugins once they're installed. ChatGPT will automatically decide which plugin to use based on the content of your prompt. So for instance, if I simply submit it like this, ChatGPT knows that I'm asking it to create a PowerPoint presentation, which it can't do except when it uses this plugin. However, let's say you have multiple plugins installed, or maybe you just want to be sure that ChatGPT will use the plugin that you want it to use. You could always write the name of the plugin at the very beginning of your prompt. So for instance, here we could write Smart Slides. And so just a quick overview of the prompt, I'm asking GPT to create a PowerPoint presentation about purchasing real estate in upstate New York. And I'm asking for some information, including price trends, popular and safe cities, and existential concerns like flood zones or how climate change may affect the region. And I'm also asking GPT to add any other details that might make a real estate investor interested in investing in upstate New York real estate. Okay, let's submit and see what happens. Now you'll see this already looks different than normal ChatGPT responses. It says here using Smart Slides. So it's clearly working with our plugin. And here we go. That took a little longer than a normal response, but it worked. It says, I've created a PowerPoint presentation on purchasing real estate in upstate New York for you. Now, with most of these plugins, the output will result in some sort of link that you have to follow to access your intended result. So Smart Slides in particular is getting ChatGPT to output this additional information about prompting with Smart Slides. All of these plugins require a level of proficiency. Just like becoming a better prompter with ChatGPT or Midjourney, you could become more skilled at utilizing the plugins. But let's check it out. Let's look at the presentation. Okay, so you can see the PowerPoint presentation that it output. And it is pretty basic, but you can see that the PowerPoint does have all of the main things that I mentioned in the prompt. It does go over some price trends at a very high level. It mentions the popular and safe cities. It mentions the existential concerns, although it doesn't go into details. And then it has a little section trying to entice investors. Now, the fact that this isn't a perfect PowerPoint is not the fault of Smart Slides. That's a prompting problem, not a plugin one. And proficiency with any of these plugins is outside of the scope of this particular video. And you can just start to see how powerful plugins can really be. It completely elevates what ChatGPT is capable of outputting. Okay, so that was the first example. And that was a pretty professional use case, trying to make a PowerPoint presentation. But what about something a bit more casual? So we'll go back to the plugin store, and this time we're going to search for a specific plugin. And so this is a really cool one that I found. It's called Playlist AI for Spotify. Now, it's not affiliated with Spotify, but this app gives GPT the ability to actually generate a Spotify music playlist. Not just come up with a list of songs, but actually create the playlist in Spotify. So again, let's install it. So like before, it takes you to a bit of a login authorization page. In this instance, you don't need to to add your email, you just simply have to agree that Playlist AI will be able to view your Spotify account and take actions on your behalf. So let's agree, and we're brought back to ChatGPT. You can see we now have 2 plugins installed. So let's get into using the Playlist AI plugin. You can disable the Smart Slides plugin, or you could leave them both enabled. It doesn't really matter what you do at this stage when you only have a few plugins installed. However, I'm gonna choose to leave both plugins enabled because I wanna show you guys something cool about using multiple plugins at once. So now let's use the Playlist AI plugin. And we do so like using any other plugin. We have to ask GPT to do something. Okay, so let's use a simple prompt. Create a Spotify playlist filled with medieval Gregorian chants and Scottish folk songs. Just the kind of music I like listening to. And I'm gonna show you in this example how GPT automatically chooses which plugin to use, and it does it pretty well. So let's click enter, and we get this new little pop-up here, just like before, but this time it says using Playlist AI Spotify. So you can see how GPT automatically looked at our prompt and decided that, you're asking for a Spotify playlist. You need the Playlist AI. You don't need the Slides plugin. Okay, and that output is pretty simple. It gave us a link we could take to get to our playlist. So the playlist it gave me only has 9 songs. If I asked for a specific number of songs, it would have done so. Now it has songs like Chant, the best of Gregorian chant, and Scotland's romantic music, or Homecoming, a Scottish fantasy. I'm not gonna listen to any of these on here because I don't want a copyright strike, but clearly it works. Now the reason I wanted both enabled was I could show you how you could use multiple plugins at once. So what I've done is asked it to create me a slides with the music in the previous playlist. It first said it used the Playlist AI Spotify, then it said it used Smart Slides, and it gave me this output. You can download and view the presentation here. And this one kind of worked. It doesn't really have any images in the PowerPoint, but you could clearly see how you could use multiple plugins in tandem and how plugins really take ChatGPT to the next level. So even though you can install as many plugins as you want, you could only have 3 enabled at one time. So make sure the plugin you need is selected when interacting with ChatGPT. In this final example, I wanted to show a plugin that I thought was just really cool. So let's go back to the plugin store, and this one's actually right here in the popular section. It's called Diagrams Show Me, and it creates schemes, diagrams, architecture visualizations, flowcharts, mind maps, so just kind of like a charting tool. So let's install that. This time, clicking install didn't send us to a separate authorization page. It simply added it to our list. So let's use it. So I'm gonna say, create a chart explaining the process behind becoming a popular YouTuber. Go into as much detail as you can in a step-by-step process. And you can see again that GPT automatically chose the correct plugin. All right, so finally it gave me the output, and it says, here's a detailed step-by-step process for becoming a popular YouTuber. This time it gives the output right inside of the GPT response. And this can sometimes happen depending on the plugin. They're all designed differently. Although it also gives you a link to view it in a web tab. But you can see from the guide, it's pretty good. Start a YouTube channel, create your content, which requires researching topics, creating your videos, making your thumbnails and titles, and a bunch of other details. Now this Diagram Show Me plugin is really cool because it gives you the ability to create modifications. So you could edit using the source code or with this Miro drag and drop beta feature. So this is the edit using source code option, and it gives you a pretty robust way to edit this diagram. I'll be coming out with lots more videos about different plugins. Leave a like if you enjoyed this video and found it useful.